Come on the spot. Tell me with Shane Bohan. Shane Bohan, really, I met when I first started real estate about 10 years ago. And he's one of my guests on the spot. He knows a lot about Ruby Hill. And Shane, Forger, go to yourself and go from there.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shane. I live, work, and play Pleasanton. I have been in this crazy business since right out of college. Cut my teeth down in Monterey. I've done stuff from Monterey to Chico to Tahoe, but most people know me as the Ruby Hill guy. So I would say Ruby Hill sales has put me on the map.
Cool. Shane, you want to give me the rundown of how Ruby Hills, how the whole thing started and the whole transition, what it is today? Back
Sure.
when,
So Ruby Hill, for the people that really, really know the area, it was Livermore. And Signature Properties or Jim Gilmetti, which was the engine behind the idea to create a destination golf course, a residential community, takes his idea, he pitches it to Livermore City Council Development Group, and they didn't like the idea at the time. Infrastructure, technically, it's a little ways away from downtown, so to speak. And they said, no, we're not going to approve this. So he was passionate about his idea and came up with an end around, kind of an audible, so to speak. And he went to Pleasanton and said, here's my idea. What do you think? And they said they loved it. So then they negotiated that little area to be incorporated into Pleasanton, knowing that he would be able to get his project rubber stamped and approved and then built. So that's the history of it. Some of the not so subtle details are, a golf course. Jack Nicklaus was hired to design it, so he brought in the name brand. Then the big marketing company, because in a weird way, it was far out. It's Pleasanton and Livermore were really the heartbeat was the downtown. And anytime you had to kind of drive 5 miles, you were going into some unknown place back in 1995. So they needed the draw and came up with 812, I think about 815, something like that, units for the whole development for residential, 18-hole golf course with full amenities, and piece by piece released from 1995. And heck, some of the lots are still for sale out there. So we're talking 30 years later, as we speak today. You've got basically a full-fledged community that's probably top 10 in not all of California, but certainly Northern California. It's a pretty special place.
yeah, cool. Thanks for that, Shane, that feedback. Let me ask you this question. What are your thoughts on real estate market we see going now and forward? And what do you see as predictions are going forward?
Well, I think we're in what I call a normal market. So, the predictions are not, COVID was kind of crazy. No one even knew what was going to happen or what was happening. And as we look back, we can kind of figure it out, but it was a heck of a seller's market. Buyers had to come in and basically do whatever the sellers wanted. So very predictable. Now you have to be on your game. So you have to have a great product. You can't change the location. So you got to be in a good place, which is kind of where we work. It's all a good place, but you've got to have a good house. It's got to show great and you got to price it right. And then you have to put on your gloves and you're going to not battle, but fight a little bit with buyers. And if you're using common sense and good people with good spirit, you're going to have a deal. But it is not predictable on who's going to move the needle one way or the other. So I call that a normal market. Price it right, your house will sell.
Good thoughts. Let me ask you this. Is there a struggle you went through in life or business or you want to share our audience out there?
Well, certainly. So I've started in 94. And I didn't know what I didn't know back then. Probably still don't, but I've
Sure.
seen some vicious cycles. 2001 and the catastrophe of the World Trade Center. I remember. So the answer is that um,
Okay.
I had 55 listings right after the tragedy. 55. You'd think that was great, but everyone was so scared of not their own shadow, but all of the unknowns. Fear is what
Yeah.
you don't know and understand and can't predict. That it was awful. I had 55 sellers that were
Wow.
worried. and I had a million people that wanted to do something but were worried, and therefore there was no business, there was no deal to be found at any price. Banks were upset, appraisers, people were just being people, going, "What in the he double hockey sticks is going on?" So
Mm,
2001 was rough. The massive collapse in '07 was just as bad, but that was on a global scale, so that hurt probably worse. And then COVID was, still a head scratcher, and we're through it, God willing. And so those were three major challenges that would take anybody to the brink of despair, and it certainly did that to me, and I think it did that to everybody.
mm. Yes, I remember 9/11 I was in the high school when it happened. So I think I wake up that morning, coming to school and seeing the whole thing on TV. That's when that happened to
Well,
me.
this is it's hardly funny, but it is interesting. So my birthday was the day after that
Oh
happened.
wow,
So
wow,
I had just packed up my vehicle and I was traveling to a 30th birthday. And it was the first day I had off in months. I had turned the TV off, the
yeah,
phone off. So I was the last to know because I was traveling,
yeah.
and I pulled into a store. It says we're closed because of the tragedy. And I said, "What in the love of goodness is going on?" And I found out. So that's kind of for an older generation. And where were you when Kennedy was shot? That's certainly something I'll never forget. When I pulled into a store and it was closed, and then I turned the radio on, and then of course did a U-turn and went back and sat in front of the TV like everybody else.
Wow,
That's
wow.
my weird story, and that's something, of course, no one will ever forget.
Oh. Let me ask you this: do you have a quote that you live by or heard that you want to share with our audience?
A quote. I'm deeply religious. I don't do as much as I should. Um, Part of there's a Latin term that was part of my fraternity, and it's called Vir Quisque Vir. It's a little bit like Semper Fi, or in fact, Vir Quisque Vir means every man a man. So that's something that I think about all the time because of my core group of friends, and we're always communicating. And so it's kind of a meet and greet. It's kind of like aloha. Vir Quisque Vir is something that goes with my family, no doubt.
Okay. Let me ask you this: is there a mistake that you regret that you did as you did in real estate that you want to share with us?
Good question. Yeah, tons.
Yeah.
I sometimes I thought I was better than I was. Sometimes I saw a trend and I didn't act or react, and I didn't realize that forces are a lot bigger than we think, and the powers of kind of not sheep, but kind of like water. It will do what it wants to do, and no matter how hard tried to work through that 2011 debacle, I could have worked 26 hours a day. No one was going to buy anything. So recognizing something, trusting your instincts, and making an adjustment is important. And during that time, I thought I could just work through it because I was talented in this business. But
Yeah.
that was something that I made a mistake on, just thinking, and it took not years off my life, but it took stress on, and I didn't need that. And I should have just taken a deep breath and kind of rolled with the punches rather than swim upstream. And so that's something I regret, no doubt. Big mistake.
Gotcha. Let me ask you this: what do you watch nowadays for a TV show or Netflix or stream? What are you watching that's on TV you like
Um,
showed us?
Tons. So being in the wintertime and less sunlight, I am binge watching tons. And I want to say Mayor of Kingstown,
Okay.
phenomenal. Yellowstone's come and gone, but Landman's I'm a big fan of. Um, the Bear started recently watching that. I think Lincoln Lawyer. So I'm giving you a million, but
Okay.
when you have some time on your hands and
Is
you're kind of
Landman like Yellowstone, or what is that like? Or no? Landman.
Landman is Billy Bob Thornton, oil
Okay.
guy out of West Texas,
Okay.
and that whole culture. So yeah, it does sound like it might be Yellowstone, but it is by the same creator.
Okay.
That's out of Texas, and so they're cowboys drilling for oil. And
Oh wow.
when you
Okay.
hit, you have a ton of money, and then you get to follow these. It's a little soap opera ish, but
Okay.
it's pretty riveting. So that's a must see, no doubt.
Okay. Uh, so Shane, if you get introduced out there, what's your walk up song you coming out to if you introduce you somewhere?
If I'm gonna go make a plate appearance at the
Yeah,
Giants
yeah,
game, I'm coming out to "Welcome to the Jungle." "Welcome to the Jungle," Guns N' Roses. That was kind of our high school anthem.
okay.
So that dates me as exactly at 54 years old. God bless.
I'm gonna ask you this question that might throw you off, but I know you golf a little bit. What's your favorite golf course you played on around the area? I know you played in Monterey and stuff, but what's your if you had to
Well,
play
around
one
I
golf
was a
course, what was
member at
that?
Ruby Hill. That's why I'm intimately have the knowledge of that place, and
Yeah,
I'm proud of that. And I do a biased opinion, and well, it's mine, so I can have it.
yeah,
I love the place, but when if we're going to extend around the area down to Monterey, it's Spyglass is
yeah.
my favorite course of all time by a
Okay,
mile.
cool, cool. Yeah, I played that last year. Nice course. I was
Yeah,
able to play it.
nice, challenging, fun,
Yeah,
beautiful. It's a somewhat affordable for locals,
yeah,
um, and the lore and the history and the nostalgia can't be beat.
mm,
Cyprus is
cool.
wonderful, but that's a little bit not necessarily highbrow, but that's not necessarily attainable for the regular golfer. And
Yeah,
Pebble is a ton of dough, so I'll take Spyglass every time.
cool. All right, let me ask you. I know you're a big Giants fan and stuff, and have some history. Who's on your Giant Mount Rushmore players? Who you
So
pick 'em?
my giant Mount Rushmore is, and I haven't thought a ton about this, but I have
Yeah.
been a fan since I was a kid, literally 8 years old. I was season ticket holder since 1998. So
Okay.
yeah, so I was at first game of the new stadium. I went to Candlestick when there was more wind than people in the
Yeah.
stands. Will Clark I saw him hit that homer in his first game off Nolan Ryan, so he's
Oh
on
wow.
it. Barry Bonds, I think, is one of the best players of all time. He was must see TV. You didn't get up to go get a meal or use the restroom or anything. You stop what you were doing to watch him hit and even play
Yeah.
in the field. And then more recently, Mad Bum, I think he's the all time playoff ERA leader in the history of baseball. And then
Yeah.
Tim Lincecum, I saw his two no hitters, and
In
knowing that
person?
he's a no on television.
Okay.
One was in San Diego, I believe. I think he was no hit San Diego twice, once at home and once in San Diego. But his stature was 5'11", 185 pounds, just like I am. And he was as good as there was for that 5 year period, to Cy Young. So those are my four guys.
Okay. I'm asking this. Do you have a favorite Candlestick memory that stands out? Since you went there?
Um, yeah. The Brian Johnson, he went to Stanford, I think. He hit a
Yeah.
grand slam to walk off. I was third row sitting behind Danny Glover with my college roommate.
Okay.
Um, and we beat the Dodgers that game. Rod Beck had come in and got the win, and I believe we knocked the Dodgers out of the playoffs on that
Yeah.
game. And that had to be 96, 97, and that
I want to
place
say, yeah,
was
yeah.
crazy.
I remember seeing it on TV, but it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there, so that was gives me chills to this day still, and because it was against the Dodgers,
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Cool. So who's your GOAT in baseball? If you have to pick a player, who's your
I never saw him,
yeah,
um, but Willie Mays,
yeah,
and I've of course seen highlights, and I somewhat of a not an expert, but I read up on this stuff and I watch highlights and statistics and old games. And I did shake his hand, so tons of admiration for him. And I'm pretty positive he grew up in Alabama, and the things that he went through, not off the field and then on the field, couldn't be beat. So he's my guy.
okay. And then who's your favorite player or player you saw that best played in person that you saw?
It had to be Barry Bonds.
Yeah,
I was at his 500th homer. When I had season tickets, I was with a group, so I didn't go to every. I mean, there's 81 home games, and
yes,
and that's a heck of a lot. That's all you can eat. So I was with a consortium, so to speak. So I probably hit 10, 15 games a year, and I would purpose. So back then, Barry Bonds, he would play a night game, but he wouldn't play a day game after.
yeah,
Just I think it was the original load management. and he was getting older. And I'm a day game guy, so I purposely missed the day games because I predicted he wouldn't be playing. So I'd go to the night game and deal with. While the new stadium was a lot better than Candlestick, it was still cold.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
so we're leaving Pleasanton at 100 degrees, getting there at 60. You got to pack jackets, coats, and hats and scarves.
I remember some nights at Candlestick, it was crazy cold. We'd be there, and it just was wind was going, and it was nuts. Yeah,
I hope they win and
yeah,
glad to leave.
yeah. So, prediction for the Giants this year. What do you see them doing? Playoff team? Do we make it? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, some people say the Dodgers have ruined baseball with all of their crazy signings and deferred contracts. So they're going to be tough to beat. I hope it's kind of a weird thing to think, but I'm hoping that they are playing games in the last week of the season that mean something.
Yeah,
Because every game
sounds good.
means something, that they're not eliminated. I would say that over and under Las Vegas odds for those people that are paying attention to that is
Yeah.
81.5, which puts them basically 500. I
Oh,
think 88 gets you in the playoffs. I got the Giants at about 86 games. So
okay.
that's my
Cool.
prediction. All that being said, I'm not going to make any bets, but that's what, if I had to, that's the way I'd do it.
Okay. Let me ask you this: during the pandemic, what's something you did before that you still use today that you did?
Well, my partner and I, now I'm flying solo like Amelia Earhart. I'm on my own, but we always were at every event, so to speak. The inspections, the appraisals, the repairs. Most importantly, the showings. Even if we were representing the seller, I would be there just to be there, just to have a face with the name, be available for Q&As. That went away during the pandemic because God forbid you touch somebody or even look at them. I remember my first deal during the pandemic. Everyone was in masks. I wouldn't recognize that family to this day because we were in masks. They had a hat. The lady of the house was in a beanie also. So I couldn't tell you what in the heck they looked like, just their name. Now I'm getting back to that, but I'm noticing that people don't really want me there, but I just still make it sure I'm there to provide a presence, give a little peace of mind to a seller. And then for buyers, I'm all things to all people every time.
All right, good thoughts. Let me ask you this: what is your dream car if you have one? And then what are your thoughts on the EV car?
Okay. I'm not a car guy, but I do, of course, have one, several.
Yeah, yeah,
My dream car is a real luxury truck.
okay,
um, Something that you still use that you can lend to a friend, but when you're driving around, you can feel like you're in a tuxedo, or you can go to a show or the theater and
yeah,
know you got a pretty tight ride. And then it'd be pretty practical to get to Home Depot to move some stuff around and help a buddy out. So that's now, that being said, I don't have one. I hope it's in the cards, but right now
yeah,
I do have an Escalade where I put a Christmas tree on the top of it
yeah,
and a dog in the back. So I guess that's kind of a quasi truck.
yeah, yeah,
EV vehicles, I'm torn. I recognize that there's the future and it's here, and that's part of the not going to swim upstream anymore.
yeah.
But they're not for me. The last thing I want to do is be cruising around and stressed out on where a charging station is, or having to go off the beaten path to just get some energy or miscalculated something or forgot something. So until they get the longer range, better performance, I'm going to pass on those. And at my age, I don't think I'll ever be in a vehicle where I don't have the wheel and the pedals. I'll never
Yeah.
let it run itself. I'll leave that to an airplane.
All right. Good thoughts. Good opinions. Let me ask you this: what age would you go back in time and pick and live at? If you could go back in time, what age would you pick to go live?
You mean like Ice Age? Well,
No, like let's say you're like 12 years old.
oh, okay.
Kindergarten. Yeah, your
Oh gosh,
lifetime.
I'd go back to college if I could.
Yeah.
I went to
Okay.
University of California, Santa Barbara, and
Yeah.
I was on the 5-year plan. So
Okay. What
I would
class were you?
relive that.
Class of what year?
94.
Okay. All right. I have a few friends that went there, so
Yeah,
they enjoyed it. Yeah.
they're probably my friends, and I'm sure they had a similar experience. It was the best years of my life.
Cool.
Um, I didn't. I probably should have taken more advantage of it, but my goodness, going to college, going to high school in Monterey, so I was kind of on the sand and the ocean, and then going to Santa Barbara, pretty lucky kid growing up. But
Yeah,
my
totally.
answer is
Yeah,
all day long, college, UCSB.
cool. All right. Um, do you have a favorite field trip that you did as a kid that you went on that you remember?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Being in the Monterey area and our high school, I think that's
Okay.
what you mean by field trip.
Yeah, yeah.
Those were pretty focus groups. Were kind of the golf and the climate. Um,
Okay.
the aquarium.
Oh,
That
Monterey.
Monterey Aquarium
Yeah,
is the real deal, and
yeah,
I go there every chance I get. It doesn't change much, but
yeah,
I've probably been there 100 times in my life, and if I'm back home, I go.
yeah.
So that had a huge impact on me, and to understand, you didn't realize school when you're a kid, like a little kid, and
Mhm.
it doesn't matter where you are. You're kind of like, when is this over? A lot of people anyway, and you want
Yeah,
to just get to recess or get to the sports games or practice. But boy, going to the aquarium was pretty cool. Now that everyone wants to go back to the beach as we get older, like I want to go to Hawaii, or you know what I mean, get my
yeah,
toes in the sand, have a margarita. Then now you understand what the waves do and why the sand's moving the way it moves.
yeah.
Um, so the aquarium was one, and then I got to go to Santa Cruz Mountains. Did a
Okay.
sleepover field trip. That was 27 kids wrapped around a
Yeah.
sequoia. Yeah, that was pretty impressive, and that was a
Oh,
big deal back then when you drive an hour somewhere to go to a field trip. But so those were my two unforgettable moments.
yeah, I do remember the Monterey Aquarium. My dad liked that a lot too. I think we did that for no school days. We go out there and take it, but it was a cool trip.
Right.
He wanted to take us, he liked the aquarium. Yeah,
And then that leads to intrigue into maybe going and whale watching, or certainly
yeah,
getting out on the pier to just take a look around and seeing the sea lions,
yep,
and then you can snorkel or scuba. So it's kind of the gateway to either enjoyment of recreation, or a career or future studies,
I,
all the above. Oh, now I got a dog.
oh.
This is Willow. Hi, Willow.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was, the elephant seals were in Monterey or not, but we went on a trip out there when I was little. Might have been Monterey, but the elephant seals, I don't know if it was there somewhere, but I
Yeah,
remember that
it,
was,
it certainly was, because Carmel
yeah,
is more walking stuff, and
yeah.
Monterey is PG. That's that whole little coastline. So I'm sure that's where you were.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Let me ask you this. So you're in the Generation X, right?
Right.
Right. What's your thoughts on the tech and the ChatGPT, AI, all that today versus the kids they get? What are your thoughts on the whole opinion with that? You
Well,
know?
I think a lot about it.
Yeah.
And to give you kind of quickly a historical context, I was in college. I didn't have a computer.
Oh
And
wow.
I want to say there were probably 10 guys that I knew had a computer. We used word processors, and that's
Okay.
how you typed your paper. And it would hold maybe 30 pages, and that was it. That's all the memory that you had. So you hit
Wow.
print, and then you erased it, and then you handed it to your buddy. Then he wrote his paper. So there was
Wow.
no, there was no saving documents. Oftentimes you hand wrote them, and then you would
Yeah.
hire somebody to come in and type them for you. My first cell phone was My first computer, I was 22. My first cell phone, I was probably 23. And so I'm kind of the old guy where I've got to call the 9-year-old to figure out how things work. So I'm learning this GPT stuff, and I love it. Back when I was in college, we had a card catalog. You actually had to take a course on how to study and how to
Yeah.
use the library, and that's what I considered Chat GPT. I Some people think it's cheating. I don't. They may enhance things, and they may polish things and put filters and make it pretty and sprinkle it with glitter, but it's just a way to research that's at your fingertips or your voice command. So I'm all for it. I do use it, not extensively, but I'm on it, I would say, every day.
Yeah.
And I double check. So I double source it to make sure I'm not getting fake news or goofy stuff, because when you're researching, oftentimes, if not always, you don't know what that's the whole reason you're researching it, because you don't know. So I don't take
So
everything at face value. And like I said, I double check my work or my findings, and then from there I do take it as gospel, and I'm all in.
Cool. Your thoughts, opinion. Let me ask you this: is there a recent movie you watched and saw that you liked?
Um, I'm going back to the bunch of the oldies because of
Okay.
all of the streaming
Yeah.
processes.
Yeah.
But the most recent one was F1, so I'm a kind of
Yeah.
a neutral sports guy or competition guy.
Yeah. That was a good
So the
one.
F1 with Brad Pitt, it was kind of like Days of Thunder, which is what I grew up and watched. That was the NASCAR version. This is the Formula One version,
Yeah.
and this is a little off kind of topic, but being an early riser, Formula One races usually start at 5 in the morning on the weekends. I can see a whole race, and then you can go as you know, we work weekends.
Yeah.
Saturday and Sundays are the equivalent for us of Wednesdays and Thursdays. So then I can go to work. So I'm a big F1 fan in that movie, and Brad Pitt is, I think, very underrated. And he,
Yeah. I
I
saw that.
don't have many man crushes, but he's pretty good actor, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty impressed.
Yeah. It was a good movie. Yeah. To compare, I thought yeah, Deal of Thunder does remind me of that. I saw it in the IMAX, so the seat was. I don't know if you saw that experience, but your seat kind of moves and does the
Absolutely,
whole shifting. Yeah.
it's a little intense for
Yeah.
somebody
It
that's
was
not
fun.
used to that. But yeah, the
Yeah.
kids are used to it, and if it doesn't have all that stuff, they're not interested. For me,
Yeah.
it was kind of shocking, and in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah. I like that experience though. So let me ask you this: are you an Apple or Android guy?
I'm an Android guy,
Yeah.
and
Might be
that's
my
a great
first on to
question.
the show, I think, or
Really?
couple, maybe, yeah,
So when I
couple,
started out of college, I didn't
yeah,
have any of these. I knew Microsoft, and you
yeah,
knew of Apple, and I worked in San Jose, so I was pretty basically the heartbeat of Silicon Valley. And I wasn't in it, but I mean San Jose
yeah,
is close enough.
yeah,
And Apple went down to $1 a share, and a lot of the people that I was selling homes to or working with were like, they're not going to make it. And I didn't even know what that meant. So I just got it wasn't a Dell, but I think it was a Dell. It was one of those computers that had everything already in it, but Apple was nowhere to be found. And frankly, it was a punchline of a joke or a dirty word. People were like, "Nope, jump ship. Apple's going down." I said,
yeah,
"Okay, whatever." So I became Android, and then I tried to learn the interface of Apple when everybody else got the fever, and I just didn't want to learn it, and I've been happy with it. And my kids call me crazy, but I'm Android, and uh, I'm too old to change now.
cool. Yeah, it might be there's maybe, like, 1 or 2 people that have said Android, most have said Apple, but when I asked that question on here, but yeah.
Get over the looks.
Let me ask you this, you wanna share a tip of the week, business tip or success tip that you heard or wanna for our audience out there, listeners?
Well, kind of more of a kind of a life tip, as
Yeah,
maybe it's not sage advice, but I was told there's going to be a time and a place. You're not a neophyte, but you're rounding your way into becoming a veteran, and then eventually as a veteran and longer, your longevity, you should have some wisdom, and you got to give back. You know what I
yeah,
mean? There's At the beginning, you're a sponge, and you're taking all this information in, and not that you can't have an opinion, but you gotta not earn it, but live it. And
yeah,
for now, mine is, you got to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you think people are going to, but they're not going to not want you to succeed. But everybody is out there for themselves. No one's going to give
yeah,
you anything. Heck, sometimes not even your parents. So take care of yourself, your health, and know people are not going to root against you, and they're not hoping for bad things, but they're going to be, if they had to choose, they're going to choose them over you. So you've got to take care of yourself.
yeah, good advice. And let me ask you this, if you had to sit down and eat with someone dead or alive, who would it be? Who would you pick?
This one, I'm going to give you several.
Okay,
I'd love to have a meal with Elvis.
okay,
I'd love
always
to
a
have a
first.
meal with Jackie Robinson.
Okay,
I could not be more uh, proud of that man and what he
mhm,
went through, and very thrilled of his demeanor and his perseverance. to put up with all of that BS, but I certainly wouldn't want to break bread with Jesus Christ. That
Cool.
would be my answer.
Yeah. Now I saw that Jackie Robinson movie. It was a pretty good movie. That was pretty good.
42
Yeah, that was a good one.
it made me tear up a little bit. I blamed allergies when my kids are like, "Are you
Yeah.
crying?" I said, "No, I got
And
some
I saw the
allergies."
Willie Mays one. That was a good one too. They had on HBO. That was pretty good. So
Yep.
yeah, those pretty good ones. Let me ask you this: if you stuck on an elevator, who do you want to be stuck in an elevator with? Pick somebody. Who'd be?
Um, I have watched your programs before, and I knew you were
Yeah.
going to throw me a little bit of a curveball, and I'm going to be a smartass, and I'm going to say an elevator repairman to get me
That's
the
the
heck out
first.
of there because I don't like being constrained, and it sounds like I might be high up, and I don't like
Yeah.
heights. So get that thing fixed, and or maybe Bruce Willis to get me out. But
Bruce
I'm going to
Willis.
go,
Oh, there you go.
yeah, because I
Okay.
think he was stuck on one of those in Die Hard. But
Yeah.
I
Okay.
want I want the mechanic to get me out of there. Somebody from Otis, I suppose.
Gotcha. Or maybe MacGyver. He could help you.
Yeah, a big fan of MacGyver as long as he's got the bubble gum and the Band-Aid and, tweezers.
Yeah. Cool. How about this? Favorite sports team and player you like?
Well, I'm all sports, but it is the
Yeah.
Giants, no
Yeah.
doubt. If they have a bad day, I have a bad day. I need to get over that. Maybe one day I
Yeah.
will. But it's San Francisco Giants through and through. Everything I
Yeah.
have is black and orange. It's a little
Yeah.
annoying to myself, so my friends think it's a lot annoying.
Yeah.
Um, and God, favorite player is probably Bonds. I hate to be
Yeah.
redundant on these answers,
Yeah.
but there's only been about 4 Giants that I wanted to punch in the face that were bad Giants. Other than
Who
that,
were the four?
well, Przinski was one. We'll
Okay.
leave it at that. Man, he was an awful Giant.
Okay.
I hate. Hopefully, he's watching. But
He might be.
anything and everything Giants.
Gotcha. All right. Let me ask you this. Might throw you off. Favorite wrestler if you watched him as a kid or growing up, did anybody stuck to your mind that you followed?
Favorite restaurant?
No wrestler.
Oh
Wrestler.
gosh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do have one. I wasn't big on that industry,
Yeah.
but they did have a big event in Monterey, believe it or not, back in when I was in probably 1990. It was Ultimate Warrior, and I've
Okay.
never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And it was in the auditorium of a hotel. So it was a
Wow.
small venue. There might have been 1,000 people. And to
Yeah.
see this huge dude with face paint, you could kind of tell that he was a pretty handsome guy, but not
Yeah.
really because he had all the makeup on, but he just being enormous. And these guys are talented. I didn't love the fact that it was kind of scripted, and I felt like I didn't that there was somebody knew who was going to win and it wasn't me. So I watched it, but Ultimate Warrior was kind of the first and only time I've ever been to one of those events, and I've never forgotten it.
Oh, okay. Cool. Good one. Let me ask you this. What advice would you give yourself at 12 years old?
A couple things in the same kind of fruit basket. You get out of things what you put into them. Okay. I
Okay.
remember when I first went to college, like I said, no cell phones. That's when you had the rotary dial. You spoke with your parents once a month, maybe. And I remember I called my dad and said, "Hey, I'm not having fun here. I think I want to transfer to Cal Poly." And he said, "I don't
Wow.
effing care if you're not having fun. It's not about having fun. It's about getting the job done."
Yeah.
And he
Good
was
advice.
right, but I didn't put enough into it. There are so many resources that are at your fingertips rather that it's kind of like get up and make your bed, take a shower and get after it. Don't just sit around and be lazy. There were so many resources I didn't take advantage of. And I mean, I was getting instructed by Nobel Prize winners and I had no idea even at 18, let alone 12.
Mhm.
So, at 12 years old, I realized I live in Monterey where people are spending their life savings to come and visit and appreciate it. The grass isn't always greener. So
Yeah.
that kind of encapsulates the advice I would give to, shake into a little 12-year-old.
Cool. Let me ask you this. How long have you been a homeowner for? And what is the city that you love about living there?
So I bought my first home in 1999 and I still have it. So that's been an important thing and achievement in my life.
Yeah.
I was drawn to Pleasanton for work. I didn't know a soul. I just got there because I had a job there and I was single and it was just something to do, frankly. And the town was safe. It was fun. It was beautiful. And it continued to be that and still is.
Yeah.
So now being a homeowner for 27 years, if you had a time machine, you could buy any product or any stock or anything. And as an investment, you're doing pretty well. So I'm blessed to have that in my portfolio. And while it's changing and it looks a lot different than it did, heck, you could hitch a horse to downtown, I think, as late as like 1984 or 5. Certainly, of course, they don't have that any longer. Now it's
Yeah.
Tesla run and so forth. But
Yeah.
so I've had a house for 27 years, and Pleasanton was home base for all of it.
Yeah. No, it's still quiet, and I thought nighttime it's even quieter now. I feel like, so it's
It
definitely
does
has that.
close at 8:30,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
literally, but
Yeah.
figuratively. It's there. I don't know what gen you call them, but baby boomers. You see lots of strollers and farmers markets, but
Yeah.
at 8:30, there's nothing to do.
It's
You
a
could
homebody. It's a homebody town for sure.
homebody, family oriented,
Yeah.
schools and lights
Yeah.
out, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this. So, Shane, if you weren't your current job, what would you do for work? Or
I
selling real estate?
probably would be a struggling professional golfer
Yeah.
or a wannabe baseball player making no money,
Yeah.
but that's what I would do. That's what I would be trying to do. Not successful at either.
Yeah. What about coaching? No, coaching baseball? No, or golf? Golf?
Yeah, I
No.
think some people say that I'm a better coach because I don't have patience with myself. I'm a little bit of a brat, a little bit of
Yeah.
a spoiled. I was decent at both of those, and the kind of going back, I thought I was better than I was, but
Yeah.
now I have patience with people that I see love the sports, the games,
Yeah. Yeah.
and happy to lend a hand. And after once you start, I started golf when I was 5 years old. Started baseball when I was 6. So
Gotcha.
I've been playing longer than most people have been alive, and so I think I've got a little bit to give, and so I'd love that idea. So, but it's that ship has sailed because I never did it. Of course, I will most likely be doing real estate till the day I die, probably.
Let me ask you this. Favorite video game or board game that you played?
I did all the sports games, all those little
Yeah.
football games that I
Madden.
don't even remember what they were. It was Atari, so
Okay.
those pretty.
Pong.
Pong. I
Yeah.
played that. People don't even think that was when coding was just very short and sweet. I did Dungeons and Dragons, but my favorite was probably Monopoly. And then we all
Okay.
had a fun time until somebody picked up the board and threw it. And then that was that. But those are pretty memorable fights. But
It's
Monopoly
a
would be
favorite on here. Monopoly's a favorite choice on this show.
yeah.
People pick a lot, so I guess see why. So you got. How about this? Drink of choice.
Did you say drink?
Yeah, drink of choice. Yeah.
Well, gosh, for years. So in Santa Barbara, it was beer.
Okay.
Then you graduate to wine, and now that I'm getting older, I'm iced tea and trying to stick around a lot longer than you
Yeah.
think when you're a kid you're going to live forever, and then all of a sudden the doctor says, hey, you need to take better care of yourself, so we're doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm all about iced tea, usually green tea.
Gotcha. Okay. You want to share a guilty pleasure with us?
Can you repeat that?
A guilty pleasure. You have a guilty
Oh
pleasure?
gosh.
Uh,
Let's see, a guilty pleasure. I probably watch too much UFC. Yeah.
uh,
I'm not. I kind of like the knockouts. I think they're fun.
yeah. And then you got a fairy emoji that you like sharing with us? Or a couple?
Yeah, they're kind of corny. They're the ones that always pop up, they were the ones that popped up first. So I use the prayer. I use the fingers crossed. The good
Yeah.
luck. I use thumbs up, which is pretty generic, but those you'll see on lots of my messages. And then every once in a while, I'll throw in a clover. Good luck clover. And but I try to be very nimble, and will spend all of 5 seconds trying to get something that's really suits the moment. Sunshine. Well, my she's in college in Santa Barbara, so I sent her a surfing emoji. She's having a bad day, and you just go, "Hey, sunshine, surfing,
Yeah.
toughen up, Buttercup. It doesn't suck to be you." So I try to make it most accurate, but my defaults are thumbs up and fingers crossed and prayers.
Good ones. And now make someone be on the show, be a good guest I could reach out to, get them on here. If anybody comes to mind.
I have got a neat story. It's kind of apples and oranges, but same fruit basket. It's a couple, and they're friends of mine. They used to be neighbors. Matt Roth, who was in the army and just retired
Okay.
as a young man, um, and his wife Sydney is now in the financial sector of life insurance and 401k rollovers. And they're local Pleasanton people, and they have a myriad of experiences on being a military family.
Yeah.
And he's in the medical side of the military for the Army, was, and her being in the financials, which is not related to real estate, but it is related to portfolios and growing investments. So I would do Matt and Sydney Roth, downtown Pleasanton, and they've been there. She was actually born there, and she went to college, and said they both went to college, I believe, in San Diego.
Okay.
And I would say try to get them on, and you'll have it'll be a rip roaring time.
All right. Well, just send me their contact. I'll reach out to them and see if we can make it
Certainly
happen.
will.
Cool. Let me ask you this. Something on the bucket list you want to do you haven't done yet. What's out there, Shane? Want to do?
Um, I've been pretty fortunate. I think travel is on my to-do list. Haven't done a lot of it. I
Yeah.
like to do the drive cross country thing. I don't know. I guess it's Route 66. I think you go up on the north side and back on the south side, going from
Yeah.
California to the East Coast. That's probably something that I would drop what I'm doing to do. But I don't have anything written down. I don't have a vision board. But
Yeah.
if I were to, I'd probably start with that.
Okay. Cool. And then how do we find you on social media or be in touch if we want to follow you and reach out to
I
you?
want to say I'm pretty hardly intense, but I'm there
Yeah.
on the LinkedIn's. Let's see, what platforms am I on? LinkedIn, Instagram. I do a little TikTok. That's new to me, but I'm working through
Yeah.
that one, and
Yeah.
Facebook. And it's either Shane Bowen or Bowen Shane. And why that came to be, I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's just my name, and you'll find me on all three of those platforms and TikTok. I don't have anything posted. I just got a voyeur, so to speak, and I do a lot of cooking. So I just
Okay.
try to get ideas on that for now,
Yeah.
and I haven't posted any content, but pretty prevalent on Facebook and Instagram.
So what are you cooking up for your recipe? What's your thing you got cooking? Or
It's just old school steak and potatoes, but I'm kind of, my breath is pretty strong. I'm
yeah.
not going to lie to you. I do think highly of myself. I'm pretty good in
Yeah.
the kitchen.
Yeah.
Not very creative, so I do just watch the cooking shows and then try to recreate that. I go Mexican, Italian, standard steak and potatoes, and now getting older, I'm eating a lot less, trying to do a ton of salads, so kick-ass salads, and putting a protein on top, and then um and I'm doing breakfast. I'm doing it all, but presentation is pretty sloppy, so that's kind of where I'm working.
Yeah.
But you throw me a bone, and I'll cook a good meal for you. And that might be number two on my bucket list, is either creating a little food truck or a supper club. But I got a lot of work to do. I'm self-taught, so like I said, I just regurgitate everything I see from the television. Or my dad was pretty masterful in the kitchen, and just trying to remember doing that. And of course, being in Monterey, it was nothing but fish out there.
Cool. Well, one more question for the guy here. What's your go-to restaurant in Pleasanton? If you can go get a bite, where are you going to?
So, gosh, I'm a sushi guy. I would go Amakara in Dublin. I think that's as good as there is.
Yeah.
The higher end Mexican is Posada in Livermore. Um, and I think those are my
Italian?
two answers. What's that?
Italian food. Where are we going?
Italian. I used to love Baronis, and
Yeah,
what a historical,
I know.
wonderful thing that was. And now it's out to pasture, and here we come with, I don't know, 34 homes and some retails below. But
It's sad.
yeah,
Yeah,
Joe Baroni and Mari were good friends of mine, great in the kitchen, and that was a go-to.
yeah,
Sushi is Amakara in Dublin, and Posada is a little hole in the wall in Livermore that had an extensive remodel, so it's a great experience too.
yeah. So from on the spot right here on Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, all those platforms, YouTube feed as well. And any questions about real estate, can reach out to Shane or I. From on the spot right here. Any
Peace.
final words?
I
Same for
just thanks
Gagger.
for having me. Good luck. God bless. Be safe.
That's it.